I'm curious about the pain points. When someone comes to you, what are the pain points that they are experiencing? I'll give you an example. In podcasting, some of the pain points revolve around audio and video quality because everyone's in different environments. They have different tech or they don't have tech. And so one of the things that we have to do before every interview is that we have to do what I call an audio video design session. When we're starting with the host, we do that with them. We tell them, here's the equipment that you should buy for what you're doing. That makes the most sense for you. They make the investment because they, of course, want to look and sound good. We help them get framed up and make sure that everything's good. And then we have guests who don't want to be podcasters. They just want to be a guest on a podcast. So they're not going to make the big investment, and nor are we asking them to. However, we can still do a 5-10 minute audio video design session with them, giving them 2 pieces of paper. They're like, here's what you need to do to prep for it. And then having that little 5 to 10 minutes before they do the interview. And I am the person, me or someone on my team who's doing the recording, who's capturing that, will be the person that the guest sees first. The host does not join it first because it's kind of awkward getting ready. Like, I'm going to ask you to go get pillows and get a lamp and let's frame you and raise your chair, sit on a pillow, lower your chair. Like, I'm going to ask you to do all these things. And if the host is there waiting for the guests, like sitting there looking perfectly ready, because of course they are, it frazzles the guest, right? So we've come up with a process and a system that me or someone on my team, we walk them through everything. And once we get them to a spot that's good enough, better than what they showed up with, they look better, they sound better than when they arrived, then I say, you look, you sound great. Let me send a text message to the host and they will join us. And I send a text message to the host that says, please join us. Now, the host this whole time knows that we are doing this and they are ready to roll and ready to click the button to join us. That little time of me telling the guest, you look and you sound great, and they can see that they look and sound better than they did before, no matter what environment or what equipment they have. And me saying, let me send the host a text message, me sending the text message, and then the host arriving. Those few moments allow that guest who I've just put through the ringer to get them to look and sound as good as possible. It allows them to collect themselves, recognize that they do look and sound better than when they showed up, and be prepared for the host to come in. So that is the pain point here, was people show up and they look like crap and they sound like crap. And now the host looks amazing and the guest looks like and sounds like crap. That's a bad product. So what's the solution to that pain point? This audio video design session that now is a part of every single process. It's just a non-negotiable that this is what happens for every single host and for every single guest that's going to be interviewed. So that's my example of having a pain point and coming up with a solution for that pain point that then becomes part of our entire workflow, that the clients now tell the guests, oh, you're going to talk to the production team for a few minutes and they'll get you squared away. And they don't have to worry about it because they know we're going to take care of it.
Right. I love almost a concierge type of feel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because you want everybody to be relaxed and in the zone for that podcast. And what better way than to give that confidence that they will be able to go ahead and do that. So we were talking about immersive and intensive. And when people choose to invest and get the value that we can provide, the thing that gets in their way is usually the mindset of, I'm going to have to go ahead and do a lot of things. I'm going to have to go ahead and pull together this information. I'm going to have to understand all my processes off the get-go. It's like, no, I'm going to have my metrics.
As it is, you're going to make me do more work. I'm out of here. I don't want to have anything to do with
Exactly. I got to bring my business plan. No, you bring your brain. You bring your brain because you know this thing. You know your business more than anybody else will, right? And being able to identify those things that are necessary for us to go ahead and actually do these things, we actually go ahead and identify what is going to be the tech that's going to be necessary here. Are there videos? Are you a content creator? Do you actually have things that you're wanting to go ahead and put out there in the world and those concepts? And being able to go ahead and give us raw information or videos that you've done professionally and so forth as well. The thing is, that first session is a 2-hour session on setting up all the tech so that we have access to everything. Everything is all in a place to where we can be boots on the ground making this happen. And then we have intensive sessions, similar to the briefing that I talked with you about, where in those intensive sessions, we're putting you back into the decision maker, not the doer seat. You haven't been having emails going back and forth. You haven't had to have meetings and so forth in the interim. We have enough information to go ahead and actually create these processes for you And then we're in decision-making mode in the intensive, usually a half day, sometimes longer, depending upon the project, but a series of intensives over time to go ahead and tweak things, making sure everything's on target, approving them, and boom, they're live. They're live. They're actually out there and available for you to work with, or scheduled out as appropriate, of course. And then because of that project mindset, whether it's a small, medium, or large project, would determine how many intensives. But you're going ahead and working in your business. You're not trying to go ahead and work on this project. You've got the right people working on this project to get you to where your goal is. And then ultimately trained on the things that you need to be trained on so that you can utilize the systems appropriately. So it is a wonderful way to go ahead and put people in their brilliance on a regular basis. And I love the feel of that. And when I'm dealing with clients, it's almost like a sigh of relief that you can hear or you can feel when you're in those sessions. It's like it didn't have to be hard. It can be easy.
Well, it's
Easier.
like the second brain for them to help. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
internal native knowledge that they have, and you facilitate for that to kind of like get downloaded and put into documentation and a process that others can follow. So it isn't dependent on the owner of the company or the leadership of the company. And I think you talked about delegation earlier too. And so the delegation aspect of it is, as a solopreneur who's been doing these things for a long time, as I've been developing my team, letting go of some things initially was much more difficult. And I recognize that I am the bottleneck on a lot of things, and I don't want to be the bottleneck. So it's getting easier and easier to let those things go. But what started was that I needed to ramp up the quality of the folks that I was inviting to participate on the projects, because as the projects expanded, everybody was getting really thin. And I think that's another pain point that businesses that are in growth mode are experiencing. So how is it that if somebody comes to you and is like, we're growing out of our ears and we need to hire more people and our people are stretched thin and this is the pain point that we're experiencing. And so they may truly be in that, I literally don't have time to sleep and you want me to do these things, Kathy. So do you work with companies like that? And if you do, how do you calm them a little bit and then carve out the time? Because that's the real challenge. And then for the team that is already stretched thin, how do you tell them, oh, here's another thing you need to do in order so that you won't be thin, but you're going to be thinner for a little bit before you get less thin. And then, oh, we have these other people that are onboarding. And so how do we get them where they look at the chaos and go, oh my God, what did I just say yes to? And this in no way is reflective of my business right now.
I know what you mean. Well, it's a common problem. Absolutely. Because you're in a position as a business owner, and especially having teams of, I've got to make this work. And that fear of, if I slow down, then the scaling will slow down. Right. And so that's why this intensive model works, is because, yes, we've isolated that dedicated amount of time to focus, which is hard for folks to do in the first place, let alone visionaries to do, and be able to go ahead and concentrate on, you have that native knowledge, you have that voice. How are we going to go ahead and get that information so that it can actually go ahead and be out there?
And
there are various ways to do that. Absolutely. And there are time efficient ways. That's why I mentioned raw. I mean, being able to go ahead and just, hey, you got a concept, just audio message the concept on over for that. Or being able to go ahead and isolate what those processes should be, especially with the team members, and actually having them involved in it. I think that's part of the thing too, is that when you're involved in the solution, but you're not going ahead and having the level of intensity of involvement, and you're in decision-making mode and you're in expert mode, then you're able to go ahead and get there faster, which allows for new people that are being onboarded. We do onboarding too, because that's an essential component of your business operations. What do they need to know in order to be effective in your business? And so you end up having all these digital tools that you're able to go ahead and use for workflows and processes. And I especially love to go ahead and layer in the high touch with the high tech, so that you're building relationships in the business, not only with your customers or clients, you're also doing that with your team and your vendors, et cetera, to where it's easier to go ahead and get that thing done along the way. And speaking of getting things done, it just makes me want to chuckle because I've been surrounded in a very IT oriented industry for all these years from the tech standpoint. And as a marketer, it's not necessarily taken seriously by the tech folks. And those age old situations where you wanted to go ahead and change something on your website, and it took sometimes months to get that change.
Thank God for WordPress.
And now, thank God for WordPress. And at the same time, there are so many opportunities to use the right tools to get that level of immediacy. And also, for one of the things that people love having someone like myself involved in that kind of thing is, let's think critical thinking. What are the unintended consequences of making that particular change to this process? Let's think it through. Make sure that it's going to go ahead and actually be beneficial on both sides of that relationship. Or maybe that thing goes nowhere. Maybe it dead ends. And when a lot of people do it themselves, I see tons of dead ends. It's worse than a hair appointment. It is just crazy. It's like I have a podcast out, but there's nothing for that person who is interested in working with them to do. No call to action.
No top of the funnel.
No top of the funnel. For those of you that are not familiar with funnel language, top of the funnel is where you're attracting, you're creating awareness and capturing that prospect lead. The middle of the funnel is where you're nurturing that relationship through information. So they're consuming value in order to go ahead and determine whether what they want to purchase, invest, whatever on the bottom level. And that bottom level is amazing, not only from a sense of profit, but also from a standpoint of recurring revenue, as well as raving fans. Because when it comes to podcasts, I was doing it this morning, raving about a particular podcast for that particular problem that person was saying that they could benefit from. So you want to make it easy for people to go ahead and recommend your product, service, information across the board.